All right, let's call the City of Milton Common Council meeting to order Tuesday, July 16th, 2024 at 6 p.m. And can I get confirmation of appropriate meeting notice?
Meeting was posted at Milton City Hall, Milton Piggly Wiggly, and Ace Hardware.
Approval of agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, pledge allegiance. Public comments. Any public comments on any agenda items? You can wait till your agenda item comes up if there's questions. Okay, we're going to move on to approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carried. Discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 2024-541, amending the Parks and Recreation Commission membership.
This ordinance was approved for the first reading, was approved the last meeting, with the addition of adding an additional member to make an odd number to make a quorum easier. So this adds the high school student representative as a voting member, and then also adds an additional citizen member to the Parks Commission, excuse me.
And did Parks get a chance to review it, the changes?
Parks did review it last night and did vote to recommend approval.
So, in a middle school.
The middle school is there, but is a non-voting member.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
Is that a typo where it says the vote of the middle school representative member is advisory only? Should that be the roll?
That would be the vote.
Okay.
They can communicate, they can talk during the meeting, they're a member of the board, of that commission.
Okay.
Their vote does not count.
On that note, I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2024-541, waiving the third reading and adopting. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion on possible action regarding ordinance 2024-542, a request to rezone property along Sunnyside Drive from M1 to B1.
Nick Rogers has submitted a rezoning request for the portion of the subject site currently zoned M1 to be rezoned to B1 for installation of a car wash. The subject site is currently zoned M1 and R3 with the C1 overlay. This proposed zoning request is only to rezone the portion of the site that is currently zoned M1 to B1. The future land use map and the comprehensive plan proposes the sites in the surrounding area to be mixed use, light industrial, and commercial business. Car washes are allowed as in-vehicle sales or service in the B1 zoning only after issuance of a conditional use permit. The Plan Commission reviewed this request at the meeting on July 16th and forwarded a favorable recommendation to the Common Council to approve the rezoning request. City Administration recommends the Common Council approve Ordinance 2024-542 to rezone property along Sunnyside Drive that is currently zoned M1 to B1.
Questions or comments? And you can approve and waive or not. The Plan Commission did have a unanimous favorable recommendation to go to council for this.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading, waive the second and third reading, and adopt ordinance 2024-542. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a conditional use permit request for a car and pet wash along Sunnyside Drive.
So this is the next step for the site. Nick Rogers has submitted a conditional use permit request to construct the car and pet wash. As indicated previously, this is now zone B1, would be a conditional use permit would be required for in-vehicle sales or service. The site plan that was submitted calls for the construction of a 3-bay car wash, approximately 3,400 square foot building. There will also be an indoor pet washing area and outdoor vehicle vacuums. The site plan provides off-street parking for users, vehicle queuing and enclosures around outdoor trash area. The Plan Commission held a public hearing and reviewed the application at its meeting earlier this evening and also forwarded a favorable recommendation for approval of the conditional use permit. Therefore, the city administration recommends the common council approve the conditional use permit for BSM Land Holdings LLC.
Questions or comments? Or a motion?
I'll move to approve the conditional use permit for BSM Land Holdings LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a commercial facade grant application from Hattie and Elsie.
Hattie and Elsie have applied for the facade grant for 650 College Street. They intend on placing a black and white awning on the building that they rent. The cost of the awning is $7,773.24. They have applied for a facade grant to assist with the cost in the amount of $3,886.62. This expense would be incurred by TID number 10, and the CDA did review this yesterday and did recommend to this council that this be approved. And city administration also recommends that this facade grant for Hattie and Elsie be approved in the amount of $3,886.62.
Questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the facade grant for Hattie and Elsie in the amount of $3,886.62.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a development agreement with Advanced Concrete.
The city of Milton has negotiated a development agreement with Advanced Concrete Inc. Advanced Concrete Inc. is interested in acquiring 13.829 acre parcel of land in the Crossroads Business Park. Advanced Concrete agrees to construct a series of facilities on the development site over the next several years. Advanced Concrete will be making a series of developments on the property to bring the assessed value to $875,000 by 2020. The city is providing no incentives in this agreement other than the land sale at less than fair market value of $35,000 per acre.
And was it 20, is it supposed to be 2029?
2029. I'm sorry if I misspoke. TAD 9 will see future tax increments from this parcel and newly built facilities. The city administration recommends approval of the development agreement with Advanced Concrete Inc. pending recording of the CSM, and our attorney has reviewed this development agreement as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the development agreement with Advanced Concrete pending recording of the CSM.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2024-11, authorizing the execution of closing documents and warranty deed for the sale of land to Advanced Concrete.
Advanced Concrete is still interested in purchasing that parcel. They will be developing in the next several years under the development agreement that was just approved. A resolution 2024-11 authorizes the execution of closing documents and warranty deed to effectuate the sale of the subject property to Advanced Concrete Inc. The date of the closing has not been established. Fiscal impact 10-9 will see $484,015 in revenue from the sale of the parcel. We'll see future tax increments from this parcel on the newly built facilities. City recommends approval of Resolution 2024-11, authorizing the execution of the closing documents and warranty deeds for the sale of land to Advanced Concrete. I will note, however, Resolution 2024-11 as presented does have a typo in there. It does have the previous administrator's name once in the resolution that you see in your packet instead of mine. So if you could make that amendment, if you so choose to make that motion, I'd appreciate it.
I'd make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-11, authorizing the execution of closing documents and warranty deed for the sale of the land to Advanced Concrete, and also amending the Resolution 2024-11, changing the city administrator's name to Paul Hench.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a crossing license agreement with Advanced Concrete and WSOR.
Advanced Concrete needs to cross a private rail crossing owned by the city to access their property. The agreement lays out the responsibilities of each party. Advanced Concrete will be crossing a private rail crossing owned by the city. Since it's private rail crossing, Advanced Concrete will be the only entity benefiting from the crossing. So in this agreement, Advanced Concrete has agreed to maintain the crossing. It also requires Advanced Concrete to hold liability insurance in the amount of $5 million, naming the city and WSOR, the rail line, as additional insured parties for the crossing. There's no fiscal impact to the city, and the city administration recommends approval of the crossing license agreement with Advanced Concrete and WSOR.
Recommend approval of the crossing license agreement with Advanced Concrete and WSOR.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding an access easement for Advanced Concrete.
In addition to having that rail license agreement, they will need easement to gain access to their property. This access to the property to be sold to Advanced Concrete, they must cross over city-owned land, which is the rail site. Including that rail, this easement provides access for that. City administration recommends the access easement for Advanced Concrete.
I'll make a motion to approve the access easement to Advanced Concrete.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and action regarding a rail spur easement for Advanced Concrete.
Advanced Concrete in the future will be building a rail spur to serve their property. To have Advanced Concrete build a rail spur, they'll need to cross the land owned by the city. This easement allows for that. There's no fiscal impact from this easement, and city administration recommends approval of the rail spurs easement for Advanced Concrete, Inc.
I'll make a motion to approve the rail spur easement for Advanced Concrete.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and direction and possible action regarding a new electronics recycling contract.
The recycling agreement for the e-waste program, currently with COM2, has been going well. We have collected nearly 3,000 pounds of waste since April. We'd like to update that agreement to allow the ability for the city to accept e-waste from anyone, including businesses and non-residents. This proposed agreement addresses that. There's no additional fee for the city. I mean, there's no fee at all. There was not a fee before, and there's no fee to do this additional service. COM2 has agreed to do that. So staff recommends approval of the agreement with COM2 Recycling Solutions, LLC, for electronics collection and recycling.
Recommend approval of the agreement with COM2 Recycling Solutions, LLC for electronics collection and recycling.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a work order from Baxter and Woodman for design engineering services for improvements to various streets.
The work order attached was provided by Baxter and Woodman to perform what we're calling the Northwest Street Improvement Project. This will be scheduled in our CIP in a future year. The work would include a full depth resurfacing of Ivanhoe Drive, Woodland Drive, Surrey Drive, and Forest Lake Drive. The design fee is not to exceed $60,700. Staff has also applied for and been awarded $37,000 in LRIP funding that will be reimbursed after construction of the streets. City administration recommends approving the work order prepared by Baxter and Woodman for Northwest Street Improvements Design Engineering Services.
I just want to make a comment. I had talked to Mike about some streets, and at the time, he had suggested I go ahead and go through these street areas in comparison to the one that I had talked to him about. And having prior lived over in this area, about broke my neck driving through it. They clearly do need to be done, and so I'll make the motion. I really feel very confident that the work is waiting for us. So I want to recommend approval of the work order prepared by Baxter and Woodman for Northwest Street Improvements Design Engineering Services.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. One opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action on reasonable accommodations for pregnant workers policy. Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, let me correct myself. Oh, why I went so far now. Discussion and possible action regarding an agreement with Brightspeed to reimburse for professional and other services. I tried to shorten the meeting.
Brightspeed has reviewed and agreed to the terms of the attached agreement for reimbursement of professional services. This is related to their facility build-out in Milton. Like TDS, Brightspeed is looking to improve their services and offerings in the city of Milton. This work requires a review of their utility plan documents. Staff does not have the resources or the ability to do all this work, so similar to TDS, Brightspeed will reimburse for the time required of our consultant to do that work through this agreement. Staff is recommending approval of the agreement to reimburse for professional and other services with Brightspeed.
I'll move approval of the agreement with Brightspeed to reimburse for professional and other services.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a work order from Baxter and Woodman for Brightspeed permit review engineering services.
This is for Baxter and Woodman to perform the permit review on behalf of the city. Brightspeed will be reimbursing all of the costs. The billings will be at the engineer standard hourly billing rates plus out-of-pocket expenses similar to other contracts the city has with Baxter and Woodman. Staff recommends approval of the work order for Brightspeed Permit Review Assistance Engineering Services.
Is there any questions or comments or a motion?
Good. I'll recommend approval of the work order prepared by Baxter and Woodman for salt storage improvements, design and construction engineering services.
This was the Brightspeed item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that.
Permit review.
So approve the work order for Brightspeed Permit Review Assistance Engineering Services.
Move to approve the work.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on to a salt storage facility. Is there anything else that could be used, since maybe in the future we'll never use salt again on the roads?
When's that?
I say next year, starting next year. No more snow.
So the attached work order was prepared by Baxter and Woodman to perform design services to add a salt storage facility at 150 Northside Drive. Currently, there's 3 different facilities that are used, and we have to transport salt between them as well as equipment back and forth, so it's not the most efficient of operations, as well as the site's potential for future use could be potentially sold for redevelopment or offered for redevelopment. In addition, recently the DNR has, through our MS4 permitting, we are required to have stormwater pollution prevention plans. So as part of that process for the review of the requirements of the DNR permitting, we looked at options to consider reducing the need for those and trying to consolidate in one location, so we would only have the one plan and the associated aspects of the plan. So we'd be looking to build another facility at 150 Northside Drive. Additionally, when the facility, the public works facility, was built at the time, there was indication that an additional facility should be looked at within a couple of years at that site, and that was back in 2011. We don't have final costs for a new facility yet. However, estimated costs are approximately $315,000, including engineering. The item that's up for discussion tonight is just the engineering for the site design, and that is a total not to exceed fee of $19,650. City administration recommends approving the work order prepared by Baxter and Woodman for salt storage improvements, design and construction engineering services.
I can't remember. Was this part of our capital improvement plan for this year or next year?
It is not currently in the capital improvement plan. We are working through updates to that, so this would be brought forward as part of that
Okay.
for the construction funding.
Okay, thank you.
I would move approval of the work order from Baxter and Woodman for design and construction engineering services for a salt storage facility at 150 North Side Drive.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Discussion of possible action on reasonable accommodations for pregnant workers policy.
The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act became effective June of 2023, and the EEOC final rule and interpretive guidance became effective June 18th, 2024. The City of Milton currently does not have a policy pertaining to the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. This policy addition before you tonight was based on recommendations from Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company, our insurance carrier. As required by the Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, City of Milton will provide reasonable accommodations to employees and with limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions, unless that accommodation will cause an undue hardship to the city. An employee may request an accommodation by submitting in the request in writing using the newly created Form 31, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act Employee Accommodation Request. An employee may request paid or unpaid leave as a reasonable accommodation under the policy. However, the City of Milton will not require an employee to take time off if another reasonable accommodation can be provided that will allow that employee to continue to work. As far as fiscal impact, staff doesn't anticipate that there will be a significant fiscal impact with the addition of the policy. However, the policy does state that the City of Milton will provide the reasonable accommodation to employees unless that accommodation will cause undue hardship. The City Administration recommends approval of the reasonable accommodations for pregnant workers policy and implementation of Form 31, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act Employee Accommodation Request.
Questions or comments?
I recommend approval of the reasonable accommodations for pregnant works policy and implementation of Form 31 Pregnant Workers Fairness Act Employee Accommodation Request.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Yay. Thank you for that. Federal government. Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding 2024 sidewalk improvements bid award.
The project was advertised for bid in the Janesville Gazette on June 14th and June 21st. Bids were opened on June 28th. We received two bids, one from Next Generation Construction LLC and the other from JB Johnson Bros LLC. Next Generation Construction was the lowest bid with a base bid of $36,180. The alternate bid included work at Lamar Park. which was reviewed by the Parks and Rec Commission last night, and the Parks and Rec Commission did decide to proceed with installation of sidewalk from the pavilion to the playground area, but they did not want to include the remaining work at Lamar Park. So at this time, we would look for approval of the base bid plus the work approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission for the contract. So again, a recommended motion would be to award the 2024 sidewalk improvements base bid and the alternate as approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Just a question before you go further. What was their rationale for not moving forward with the sidewalk at the Lamar Park?
Mostly funding, the amount
Okay.
of funding that would have been required from the Parks Fund.
Okay, not the design
So-
of the park.
No, I don't know if everybody has had a chance to review the exhibit with the map. We certainly could approve that here tonight if we wanted to allocate other funding. However, at this time, the Parks and Recreation Commission did not choose to fund the other pieces of the project.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see the impact of the school as well, if it benefited them. I don't know if they would join the funding of that. Because during dismissal time, they have so many coming from the other area of that street across the playground, so they're coming across the grass and so forth. I don't know.
And the other components were sidewalk around the pavilion, like a perimeter around the pavilion, and then sidewalk leading to the bleachers by the ball fields,
Right,
as well as the horseshoe pits.
right. And that's, like I said, where they're coming from.
Sure.
There's no sidewalk. Not that it's.
And I have not had discussions with the school. So.
Okay.
No, thank you. I appreciate that insight. Any other questions or comments or a motion?
Is there any means that the city would have to supplement the addition in the Lamar Park on top of what the Parks and Recreation Commission has approved to make for the full bid? Do we have that means, or is that something we can't do?
Kelsey has to say yes or no.
I think we would have funds in capital funding that we could use if we wanted to do that.
Would we have to rebid it then?
No, it's already bid.
So we would just
The
be
whole
making
thing
up
is
the difference.
rebid and is bid. The whole thing is bid, but then Parks and Rec decided not to do all of it.
What's the difference between,
That'd be an additional $33,000 in funding. So we'd be looking for approximately.
So I wasn't at that meeting, so did they say no? Was it 100% just money, or was there some that were like, is it really needed? I mean, I'd like to get inside their head that they voted no. Was it just the money, or should we bring it back to them and say we're considering additional funding, blah, blah, blah?
So this was bid last year as well and not approved. At that time, we were applying for a grant to fund the project through, I think, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. That was not awarded, so the project, that part of the project was not approved. With the addition of the playground structure there now that's accessible, we wanted to, staff felt it important to have an accessible pathway to the playground structure. So that was some of the discussion that would complete that path from a parking area or the pavilion over to the pathway, over to the playground. The other items, I think, they weren't, I don't recall, I don't know, Paul, if you recall anything, there wasn't anything real specific, yay or nay about the other pieces of it.
I personally feel it was a financial decision. I don't think it was 100% a financial decision. I think they appreciated the project, but just didn't have the funding to do so. And if you would like, we can take this back to the Parks Commission to see if there was funding available, would they be interested in going forward with it?
Bill, did you want to say something?
I have a question on the detail that looks like there's some numbers that don't add up. on the Lamar Park portion. On the next generation bid, it's 22,800, 2,400, and 14,000.
Yeah, you're right. There's a
Which,
mathematical error there in the. Let me open up the
which
spreadsheet.
to me means if we can get it for 36, we got a good deal.
Yeah.
Because it looks like more like 39.2.
Yeah, that's what he has down here. Or,
No, on the bottom,
oh, okay.
the 22,800, 2,400, and 14,000 together.
So the base bid is on the top line and the bottom
Ah,
line,
okay,
and then the
I got it.
39.2 is the full line there.
I got it. 39.2 is the full line. Yeah.
It's the full alternate bid.
Mark, do you remember? So you said it was bid out, and then we didn't do it. How do you remember what the increase in this year's bid was from the last time we bid it out? I'm just out of curiosity.
I can look.
Because if it's something that we really feel like, hey, let's fund it, then like we should probably do it now and not bring this back another year or two and say, now we want to have these sidewalks.
Well, and we were also going to start making sure that these playground areas were available for disabled children, and if they can't get to it when the weather is poor, then we're not doing it either.
So the bid last year was actually around 25,000.
Ooh.
So it was the unit price was $7 a square foot, and I think this year it was 10 to 12. So a substantial increase this year. But again, bids can be different from year to year. So J.B. Johnson was the low bid last year, and they were awarded part of the work. That was bid with the Story Gardens sidewalk, so they did the work at Story Gardens.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that if we took it out of capital that Parks and Rec would be upset as long as we're not taking it out of their budget because they voted it down because they didn't want it to come to come out of their budget. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think that's correct. They didn't feel they had the budget in parks to fund all of it.
So I mean, let's vote.
There you go. All right. So if we were to pull that 33,000 from capital, is that going to impact our buying any other things that we plan to spend the capital funds on, or is that kind of a contingency in capital?
I guess we need to decide, is it contingency that's been rolled over from prior years that you're looking to use, or is it from the capital budget for 2024?
So some of the work is maintenance type work, so it's not coming out of capital. So the curb, like the base bid, that's sidewalk repairs and maintenance of existing sidewalks. Curb and gutter repairs, that'll be funded by, say, the water utility for a water main breaker service. So that part is not capital. That's coming out of normal operating expenses.
And not out of Parks and Rec's budget?
Not out of Parks and Recs. Parks and Recs portion was
2,400.
Thank you, 2,400, yes. So of that remaining, I guess I was off a little bit, 39,000, so it'd be, 36,500 approximately that's unfunded. So I personally, I feel like we should really try to do the pathway to the playground. And then outside of that, I think, yeah, they're good improvements, but they're not as necessary.
Because it's not accessible without that pathway, unless you have it's just not right. It's grass and mud.
It's grass and mulch, is what you're going across.
Yeah. So.
But Parks has already funded that. Parks has already agreed to fund that part.
What part?
The pathway.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Parks and Rec has agreed to fund that portion.
Whatever you guys want to do. I'm just saying, if you don't want, if you think a future council is going to want to pave that, it's going to be more expensive later. If you think you're never going to want to do it, then whatever.
I'm just curious what I was trying to ask was what it would cost us beyond just the money is if we're pulling it from capital to cover that additional request.
So as
What
part
would
of
it
our
cost us?
capital improvement planning, we're reviewing this right now with our financial advisor again for future projects. It is a fair amount of money. However, it's not as if it's. I don't think it's necessarily going to change the outcome if we're going to do a major street reconstruction or something like that. We might look to do a different sidewalk somewhere. There's other sidewalks that you could do for the similar cost of this $35,000, $36,000. That could be considered somewhere else. Example would be like the sidewalk along Janesville Street by Milton East. That was done a few years ago. I don't recall the exact cost, but at that time the council felt that sidewalk was important and supported it, and we had a contractor install it.
Don't we have a separate sidewalk fund?
There is a sidewalk fund with I think around $25,000 in it.
So we're not even taking from that.
But that sidewalk fund also is not actively replenished with funding annually currently. So if we were to look to, we could say, yeah, we're going to use the $25,000 from the sidewalk fund, and it'd go to zero. But then again, that wouldn't be in place in the future unless, as part of a budget process, the council elected to put funds back into that sidewalk fund. So that is an option too. The sidewalk fund we could use for 25, and then come up with the other 12 or $12,000.
I guess I, if possible, would love to table this and talk about it after we get maybe some resources and some options that we have. Can we table it when does a decision need to be made?
Contractually, I think we have 45 days from the date of the bid to notify the contractor of the award.
Would it delay the work though from being done this year if we don't vote on?
It is possible that it could delay it if agreements weren't. The next Parks and Rec meeting would be August 19th, so or the next council meeting for that matter would be August 6th. If it took a week to get contracts in place,
We could
it's
approve
possible. I don't know.
We could approve the contracts for the part that we're sure of.
Yeah.
And then come back with
we can
that
do that.
additional,
All right, make a motion.
I just have a quick question. When we're talking about the rest of the sidewalk that's going around the rest of the park, that's additional, what was the mindset behind including it to start with if we don't feel that it's necessary now? Just because it's a budget item, then it's not that necessary, then why did we do it to start with?
It was part of that grant application. So we were looking to make overall improvements to the park, including improvements to the pavilion, replacing the playground equipment, accessibility improvements, including some of the sidewalk we're discussing tonight. That was all put into that grant application. We weren't awarded the grant, therefore at the time we didn't proceed with that part of the project. There was fundraising done for the playground equipment. That has covered a portion of that.
Again, I'm not trying to be difficult, but it just seems like just because we had the money, we were going to throw it in, or was it unnecessary? What was the necessity of the sidewalk? But taking money out of the picture here, not the grant or anything else. Why does someone say, we need this sidewalk that rings the whole thing as well?
I think it's a wish list.
yeah, I think it's a wish list too. We've got an example with the library. When we bid the library project, we bid the renovation of the basement area or the garden level area as an alternate, knowing that we probably weren't going to have money, but it sure would be nice if the bids came in low for us to be able to do that. Now, the library is seeking a grant to do what we didn't do 8 years ago. And, a similar kind of thing might happen here. Wishes become, needs further on down the line, I guess.
Yeah, it strikes me entirely as a wish, and that because you have a grant application and stuff like that, you might as well throw in some of your wishes. And when you fail to get that kind of funding, then you go down to what you need. So they went with what they needed rather than wishes. And now we're looking at that wish list. Is it a need or is it a wish?
go ahead with the.
Do you want to turn your mic on?
Okay, let's go ahead with the original, the base bid, and then put down that we'll come back to the, what is it, August 6th meeting, and hopefully have a definite amount that we can talk about of what it would cost.
And we can talk to the school.
Right, we can look at other possibilities.
Question, are we including the path? Because,
Parks and Rec is going to pay for the path.
yeah, so the path is included, it's the other two pieces that are not in the motion, right?
Is there a second?
Second,
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Another controversial subject. Discussion of possible action regarding 2024 sanitary sewer lining improvements.
Yeah.
Sewer lining provides a maintenance to a sewer pipe that can extend the life of the sewer pipe. As part of the capital improvement planning that has been performed and followed over the last several years, and also included in the borrowing that was completed. As part of the financial assessment for that project, or for that borrowing, there was funding for sewer lining. The project received 3 bids. Visu Sewer was the low bid, with the total bid of $216,900. There was one alternate bid as well. That's included in that total. The funding would be entirely from the sewer utility. So staff is recommending the award of the 2024 sanitary sewer lining base and alternate bid.
And we already have the money sitting there waiting to be spent, right?
It is in the sewer utility.
given the discrepancy in the bids, do we know that Visu Sewer is,
Visu Sewer has completed work in Milton
Okay.
and in the region. My opinion, I think
that's
they're
great
reputable.
then.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd move approval of the 2024 sanitary sewer lining improvement bid to Visu, help me again, Visu Sewer.
Second.
Questions or comments? Both funny and not funny. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right. The sewers are going to be lined. Presentation of the city's 2023 financial statements, which, maybe we should have presented them at the beginning.
Hawkins and Ash has finalized our 2023 financial audit. The financial statements were attached to the agenda. We had a favorable audit. Tonight, I can answer any questions or forward them on to Hawkins and Ash, but we are looking for acceptance of the 2023 financial statements tonight.
Do they do a presentation?
So, years ago, it sounds like they used to, but then once COVID hit, the presentations stopped. If you all would like a presentation, we can request one again, but they haven't done one in a number of years.
So our costs for them have gone down since they're not traveling and coming to do a presentation.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, those were exciting presentations.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 financial statements.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Committee reports. Nothing? Anything on fire lately? Okay, just a laugh and a no. Anything else? Okay. Because
The last couple of fire commission meetings have focused exclusively on the West Division
Okay.
and some of the financial troubles they're having. The East Division has worked out any issues that we have, and we just sit and watch.
Because we arm wrestled through our issues. We won. So now that we've jinxed ourselves, staff reports. I know that the chief had saved some stuff for us.
Not so much for saving the best for last. Our new squad is currently in upfit with DPW. The two mechanics are working hard at that. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks that'll hit the road. Our future officer, Craig Corder, will be sworn in the morning of July 29th in the council chambers. So all city staff and council are welcome to attend that. I will send out an email to all with the actual time once that's set. The police department will be putting on a fraud presentation over at the gathering place that also will be later that day on the 29th, starting at 1 p.m. We will be participating at the public safety booth at the Rock County Fairgrounds this year. That's July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have a squad and table displayed with promotional items available for young and old. Following that, 2 weeks after that, we'll be at the National Night Out in Edgerton at Racetrack Park from 5 to 8 p.m. Same thing, promoting our department, the city, with officers, squad, table, and a bunch of fun stuff.
Thank you. Mark,
I don't have anything additional today.
are you picking up brush?
Well, we are from the storms, but
Is that like every day?
yeah, I mean that's pretty routine at this point.
Blowing snow plowing is not blowing the budget. It's storm pickup.
Yeah, so we've been cleaning up brush this week from the storm. A couple weeks ago from the storm. Hopefully back to a normal schedule the first week of August for brush collection. And it's the first week of the month.
Yes.
Kelsey?
I am attending my third year of the Clerks and Treasurers Institute this week. It's virtual, but it's about 50 hours of learning time through the week, and I look forward to bringing back and implementing things.
And
after
a
the week.
presentation, like a presentation too. Okay. The library?
The flexible facility grant for the renovation of the lower level has been submitted, so please cross your fingers until October. That's when we'll find out about that. Our book sale is available through the month of July, so please come buy some books. And then if you've been paying attention to our Facebook, we've been featuring artists who are part of our upcoming art walk. So we have 18 artists creating a set of wings that will be on display in our story gardens starting August 2nd. About 11 of them have been returned, and they are amazing. There's some very talented people in this area. We will have an artist reception on Friday, August 2nd from 5 to 6 in Story Gardens, so you can meet all the artists and see the wings for the first time. And then the wings will be auctioned off on Tuesday, September 10th as a fundraiser for the library and Story Gardens. So we're very excited for this.
Great. Paul?
I've been working with a couple of our developers trying to institute a multi-use path, connecting Crossroads Park to Schilberg Park. Working on several residential development agreements. We'll see in the upcoming meetings. And continuing working on the strategic plan.
Well, thank you to everyone that came in early to the council meeting to do that. And thank you, Paul, for doing that. All right. Everybody received an email today, which is so unusual. Like, that's as efficient as I can get right now. And our team building exercise is, you don't have to share the title. You can sing if you want to sing, but your favorite or a first line of a song that you really like. You don't even have to like the whole song, but the first line of the song. And, whoever wants to go first. Don't tell us the name because we can guess the name.
I got my first real six string.
I know who the singer is. That is not part of the instruction that we can
sorry.
finish the song. Okay. Brian Adams. The first line of the song.
Yeah, but we have to pick the
No, you
name.
don't.
You don't have to. I'm just goofing off because I love spending time with you guys. All right, Ken.
I don't want you to be no slave.
What decade?
Probably the late 60s, early 70s. I don't want you to be no slave.
I got a guess.
Sing it? No. Ashley's Googling. So, what is it? What is it? Oh.
I just want to make love to you by Eddie James.
Oh, nice. Good job.
Well, you gassed her up behind the wheel with your arm around your sweet one in your Oldsmobile.
Is that a Beach Boys song?
No?
That's all I got.
The decade.
Tom Waits. Looking for the heart of Saturday night.
Oh, nice.
I'll go. Are you ready for it?
Name of the song.
I have no idea. We just do this other
Here. Many people did it.
Yes,
Written by
but
Chris Christopherson.
Candace Joplin, me and Bobby McGee.
yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm going to
Yeah.
read mine because it's about Janis Joplin. All I know.
Who sang it? What's the answer? And that's the first line of the song.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sing it.
it's the Grateful.
Ah, a deadhead. Did you know? You knew.
I'm gonna go. I'll give you three, and it's gonna be a series of a gradient scale quiz. First one is the easy one. We come from the land of ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs flow. That's the easy one.
Was that a kids movie theme?
Yes. There it is, right there.
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin. Yep. That's Immigrant Song.
What's the name of it?
Immigrant Song.
The Immigrant Song.
Yeah, it's got a very well-known first part. It's actually missing two words, ah and ah, but they're really extended. Next one is my youngest son's favorite. Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise. Got it. Yep. Yep. Queen.
We Will Rock You.
We Will Rock You. And then the harder one. Make sure I got this right. One thing I don't know why.
Ashley. You want to go?
It's pretty obvious. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, Simon Garfunkel.
I prefer the Disturbed version.
Oh, the Disturbed. Oh, beg your pardon. You can tell us later. Okay. Hey kids, shake it loose together. Benny and the Jets. Elton John.
All right, I'll go. In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows.
Female or male?
Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden.
Oh. That was such a rock and roll group.
I know. I even said the comment or the comma.
We participate.
Kelsey.
I have a list. We'll just go with my first one. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
Queen.
I have my list too.
Nice. All right.
Well, I'm not sure if this is one line or two because I just had to listen to it. So, find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
I know that song. I can't. Were you at Woodstock? No, I knew she was doing it. Like,
Using her library.
all right.
I didn't realize this was a guessing game, so my first one was just because my youngest son loves, if you've seen the Thor Love and Thunder movie, at the beginning, it's Welcome to the Jungle, right? But it's just hilarious because he would jump up on the couch and pretend he's Thor. So that was what I thought. But
What's the first line?
just Welcome to the Jungle, right?
Oh, welcome to the jungle.
Yeah, so they kind of gave it
The
away.
games.
Yep. So that was mine.
Just she's a little bit just that we have fun at games.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
At least,
Ryan.
I'm not prepared for this one.
I can't believe nobody said Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Like, I thought 100% somebody would do that line. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. I love it. In the jungle. The lion sleeps tonight.
Yes.
I
That was the one I was going to do, but I thought, everyone will get that one so quick.
I didn't do my favorite because I knew everybody would get it, but I've always loved it. It's 9:00 on a Saturday. The regular crowd shuffles in.
Yes.
There's an old man sitting next to me making love to his tonic and gin. Piano man.
Billy Joel. He had just a great concert.
Yeah.
Really, a sold out concert. That was awesome. Okay, I don't have my agenda, but whatever. General items? No? Nobody? Okay, when's our next meeting? 6 p.m. Okay. And is there a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, good job, you guys.